Today is February 6, 2022. And we knew that the master Tina Han passed away on January 22nd this year, and also this February is a season for us to pay our memory to our lovely Shifu, Master Sheng Yan. He passed away on February 3rd, 2009. This is a photo took in 1997 when this book, The Complete Enlightenment, was published. And Tina Han was invited to write a foreword for this book. And here you have three major persons here. Shifu is the one who gave the talk, and Tina Han write the foreword, and then Gogu was is the translator and also the composer for this book. So I show this photo that to show that we also show our condolences to Tina Han, Master Tina Han. He is a good friend of Shifu, and during that visit, he and about 20-something disciples, together with him, stay at our center, Qian Meditation Center, this little small places. And then the two masters share their practice together, and they pretty enjoy this meeting. And then also Tina Han visit later on. He visit Taiwan, Nongchan Monastery, and then they have a dialogue on the Chan and the environmentalism, and they meet again and talk about practice again. And this is when Shifu passed away, and they have a calligraphy exhibition at our headquarters for the Shifu's calligraphy and the Tina Han's calligraphy together. And at that time, Master Tina Han wrote a calligraphy by using Shifu's name with it. And then all this, and just trying to have a good memory for these two good masters, great masters. And then in this foreword, the last paragraph, Tina Han wrote this: Chan Master Sheng Yan is a great teacher, and I have great confidence in his scholarship and wisdom. I feel privileged to be his friend and admire what he has been doing for the Bodhidharma in the East as well as in the West. These few lines written as the foreword to this book are a wholehearted dedication to that friendship. So I promised to talk about Sharamala Sutra last year, but causes and conditions make me to pick this complete enlightenment. And now I know the reason that I picked this before Master Tina Han passed away. And then I know that, since this book has a strong bondage between these two masters, and I think is a good thing for me to talk about this book, this sutra again. And this sutra, Shifu speak highly for this one, because he thinks that all the Chan meditation practitioners need to read it about this book. And he also got a great benefit from this book. So if you have this book, you can read a lot of his personal experiences from practice, and also his humor, and also his wisdom that use different analogies as a story, try to explain very difficult concept. On top of that, the sutra already provides many analogies to explain the Dharma. And if you like, there is another reference you can read and buy. Is the translation is the Sutra of Perfect Enlightenment, and this is translated by Charles Muller, a scholar, and based on the commentary by the Korean monk Chang Hwa. Also a very important master in the Song Chan school. So the book says that the Sutra of Perfect Enlightenment used in monastic education for more than a millennium in Korean is a concise guide to the key paradigm of the practice system of the East Asian meditational school. And so from this, you can see that this sutra is actually very important for the Zen school. And one of the key person that promote and spread and make famous of this sutra is Master Zongmi, the fifth patriarch of Hawaiian school. And we talk about that his sestras on the origin of the event investigation, the origin of life by Master Zongmi. He also is a great Zen practitioner. He has a very strong affinity with this sutra. Is when he accidentally participate a ceremony on this sutra, he cried a lot while chanting this sutra. Then he went to his master Qingliang. Master Qingliang asked why, and Qingliang master just told him that you have a strong affinity with this sutra, and so it's your responsibility to promote this sutra. So since then, Master Zongmi spent a lot of time studying this sutra, and then so here it is. The most famous one is on the left. Is called the Great Exegesis on the Sutra of Complete Enlightenment. And the one on your right is Chinese version that I got a chance to translate this English book into Chinese version. So I personally have a strong relationship or affinity with this book. I came to CMC in 1997 when this book published, and then so I spent a month here as a volunteer during my transition of job, and then Shifu, before I left, Shifu gave me this book with his signature, but I didn't read it until next year. In 1998, when I came again for the retreat, then Shifu asked me to translate that English book. And it is also in 1998 that I have a thought about leaving home. And I have to say that by translating this book, that I got a chance to read it in more detailed way. And then I also cried and smiled and throughout this translation work. And I have to say that this book established my right view for the Buddha Dharma and the right view for practice and the right view to become a monastic. And it helped me a lot to help me get through all the obstacles to become a monastic. And so it is my privilege and my pleasure to talk about this sutra again. And as you can see on your left, this exegesis is much thicker than this book. And this exegesis was written in classical Chinese by Zhongmi. In other words, this book means much more. You know, if you translate it into more common Chinese, then you'll become much bigger. It's not easy to read. And then on top of that, Zhongmi write another explanation to this exegesis. So this book getting even bigger. So I'm reading these two books by Zhongmi and try to give a better talk on this topic. And I hope that all of you can benefit from this book and the talk. Okay, now I'm going to start. Last year, we talked about, Huayan school has another way to categorize all the Buddha's teaching. And then so if you just quickly recap that Zhongmi classified one type of sutra that is related to the teaching for the heavenly being and humans, mainly on karma and reincarnation. And then then second, that Zhongmi bring up it's not the origin of our life yet. Then secondly, he brought up the second category teaching on the Namarupa that is for the two vehicles practitioners. And then still Namarupa is not the origin of life. Then the third level, then it's the topics on consciousness. And then the fourth on emptiness. And the finally, we reach the origin of life is called the Tathagata Garbha. Okay, it's really hard to pronounce. Okay, so back to Buddha's age, and then through all the great disciples' efforts, gradually Buddhism in India developed into three major schools. As you know, that one is called Middle Way School. The second is consciousness only. The third one is called Tathagata Garbha School. And then the Sutra of Complete Enlightenment belongs to Tathagata Garbha School. And then there are many sutras on this topic about Buddha nature. But the sutra or the books that are sastra that are populated in Chinese, in China or in Asia are very different. So the original Mahayana Buddhisms, there are three important sutras talk about the Buddha nature. The Tathagata Garbha is the Tathagata Garbha Sutra, the Siramata Sutra that I plan to talk about that later, and the Randna Gotravi Baka Sutra, Sastra. Okay. But in Chinese Buddhism, there are another three sutras that are very popular and very helpful for the practitioners. Is the Sutra of Complete Enlightenment, the Srangama Sutra, the Awakening of Mahayana Faith Sastra. So Shifu spent a lot of time talk about this sutra, the Chinese Mahayana Buddhism. So I picked up the Sutra of Complete Enlightenment this time and try to share with you the Buddhist concept on this Tathagata Gata. Okay, so this sutra is actually very short, very thin, and but it says a lot. Basically, from the sutra, it says that this sutra actually is the is the eye, the eyes for people to see all Buddha's teaching. No matter you talk about middle way consciousness or any kinds of concept, you can find it in this sutra. So it's very condensed and it's beautifully written. And so this sutra has 12 chapters, each chapter covering a specific topic based on questions asked by 12 bodhisattvas separately. So in other words, each chapter can be an independent sutra by itself. It has its own topic and own spatial content. And also in this sutra, you can find at least 23 analogies to explain various concepts and practice. As you know, that there are many abstract concepts in Buddhism, like no self, like emptiness, like illusory, ignorance. Those kind of concept is really hard to explain. And so in this sutra, Buddha used a lot of analogies and are pretty well known and widely used by the Chan masters when they when they teach or when they lead a retreat. Okay, so it's very useful for sutra. And content in these 12 chapters, and briefly, it will talk about the meaning of innate and actualized enlightenment, the sudden and gradual enlightenment, the true nature of ignorance and suffering, numerous examples of methods of contemplation. So some of the major meditation methods are mentioned here. Also, the same methods are mentioned in the Srangama Sutra. So, and the other special for this sutra is, you see, the sutra is very thin, and the other is called Avatamsaka Sutra. This is like 40 to 80 volumes, vesicles. And this sutra, Avatamsaka Sutra, was taught by Buddha when he get enlightened, fully enlightened. And so why I pair these two sutra together is that according to Master Jing Kong, okay, he is pretty famous in Asia. He basically read most of the sutra. So I borrow his comments that he said that only these two sutras specifically mention that all sentient beings have intrinsically accomplished Buddhahood. Okay, so you can see that how the scope of this Sutra of complete enlightenment, even though it's very thin, actually it can be related to Avatamsaka Sutra, and so very important sutra. Okay, now before the sutra, before the dialogue start, usually for every sutra, that always will start with like this, like that I have heard one time the Buddha, so on and so forth. So this initial sentence represent that this was taught by Buddha and memorized by Ananda. Okay, and then so the sutra need to mention that who hear this sutra, when, and by who, and where. Okay, about what. Here you can see that Ananda hear this sutra, and the one time, like sometimes, the Bhagavan. The Bhagavan here means the Shakyamuni Buddha. Okay, now this is very important one. The Bhagavan enter the storehouse or essence of super knowledges and great illuminations, and abided in the samadhi of right enjoyment. And this really means a lot, and basically cover the essence of the Tathagata Garbha. Okay, here the last thing first, because it's much easier. When the Buddha abided in the samadhi of right enjoyment, then it means that the Buddha is using his the so-called the body of enjoyment. As you know, that Buddha can manifest in three kinds of body. Okay, the first type is called Dhammakaya. The body of the great order is the true nature of the Buddha. So basically it exists everywhere, pervasively, equally everywhere. And then the second type of body is called Sambhogakaya, body of enjoyment. So this is the body that Buddha manifest in the Pure Lands that they manifested. So basically, through each Buddha's virtues and merits, they are able to manifest Pure Lands for a sentient being to practice in or on something. And then so the third type is called Dhammakaya. Kaya means body of transformation. It is this kind of body will manifest when the Buddha tried to help sentient beings. That sometimes he needs to manifest here and there in a human body, with human body, or with something that is to fulfill his vow. Okay, so previously when Guoguang Fashi talked about the 4 types of Pure Land, and in each type of Pure Land, that Buddha will manifest in different kinds of body. Okay, so back to here. So when the Buddha abide in the samadhi here, the samadhi is the body is not moving but very clear. With the right enjoyment means the Buddha is in the in Sambhogakaya body. Okay. And in other words, Pure Land is going to be manifested, right? And so if you have read Diamond Sutra, usually Buddha give teachings at different places, right? And on earth, okay? So Diamond Sutra was given in Sravasti, and Lotus Sutra in Raha something hard to pronounce, and here the places that Buddha give this sutra is in samadhi, and then in the samadhi of right enjoyment, in the samadhi with his body of enjoyment, and also the Buddha entered the so-called storehouse. The Tibetan tradition prefer accents for the garba, okay? So Buddha entered into the Tathagata Garbha. And this Tathagata Garbha has two functions. First, super knowledge. Second, great illuminations. Okay. Talking about the super knowledges, in Sanskrit, it's like, you know, the title. Don't know how to pronounce, okay? And if you're interested, you can check it out, because in the Indic or Vedic traditions, there are a lot of super knowledges were mentioned, and also in Buddhism as well. But mainly we talk about 6 kinds of super knowledge, and from the sutra for English translation version, sometimes you can see supernatural power, super knowledge, higher knowledge, or your higher power or something. They all talk about this these things. Okay, and I use the super knowledges. Now, I would like to spend a few minutes on this, because in this sutra, when we follow the practice to a higher level of practice, the practitioners will naturally develop certain ability or certain knowledge or power that they know things that we don't know, okay? But this is not our goal, but we need to know about it, so that we know that when we accidentally or eventually develop this kind of ability, it doesn't mean that we are enlightened, okay? This is the process. And then in this book, Shifu will told us, you know, how to handle this when you got this super knowledge, okay? So in Buddhism, we major categorize 6 types of super knowledge. The first kind is called the knowledge of magical process. That means you can not split your body. Okay, you know, I'm sitting here. If I have this knowledge, then maybe I can divide it part of my body, and then you will see me in Manhattan, you know, eating veggie burger, where I'm talking here. That's this type. And sometimes the very easy one is you can hear, you know, people can look at the spoon and then bend the spoon. That kind of magical power process. The second type It's called divine hearing. You can hear the sound far away, over the mountain, that you hear people talking, or you can hear the ticks talking, ticks whining. Okay, if you read the Zen history, that sometimes the master, can hear. So that's why they keep their precept, very, very pure, in a very pure way. They are very careful, mindful walking, mindful eating, mindful actions, because you never know what kind of insect or sentient beings you will hurt. So like master can hear the ticks, and I remember that the master hear the ticks whining because the disciple doesn't making the bed carefully. So the leg of the ticks got broken. So the ticks was whining, and nobody heard it, but the master heard it. So that's called a divine hearing. They can hear something very subtle or something very far away. And the third type is called knowledge of another's mind. So people can read your mind, basically. You're thinking a lot of things. You think people don't know, but they know. I don't know how they know, but they can hear your mind. They can read your mind. And the fourth kind is the memory of one's former abode. That means they can tell, oh, your past life, who you were, you are a general, you are a soldier, you are the the officer, or you are a woman, a man, something like that. They can see their own former life, and also they can see people's former life. And the fifth kind is the knowledge of the death and rebirth of being, or the divine eye. That means they can see what you will be when you die. Okay, so the number 4 is see your past. Number 5 is see your future after you die. Okay, and all these previous 5 are people can easily, not easily. It's also very hard. These first 5 can cultivate through different religions or different, practice. It doesn't need to be a religious people. You can practice something to get this kind of ability. But if you want to get the 6th kind, that you got to become a saint or arhat. It's called the knowledge of the cessation of the impurity. That means you have the power to cease all your vexation and attachment in this life. So the 4th knowledge is about the past. The 5th knowledge is about the future. The 6th knowledge is about the present life. The present life that you can cease all the vexations. Basically, attain arhatship. That you won't trap in the life and death, in the 3 realms anymore. And that's when you have the knowledge of the cessation of the impurity or defilements. But only the last 3 types of knowledge will further develop into a more advanced level. So that's only Bodhisattva or Buddha can develop into that level. That we need to know is for the ordinary practitioners, when we got the first 5 types of knowledge, or it's called, I translate into surpass, that means you can surpass the limitation of the material world on earth. Okay, so for example, the wall, I cannot walk through the wall, but if you have the first type of knowledge, like magical process, then you can just go through the wall. And for us, this is a solid thing. Our body cannot get through the solid things, but for them they can. So this is called the surpass. You can surpass the limitation for this ordinary, the mundane world. But when the Buddha or Bodhisattva further develop the last three types of knowledge, and then they gain the insight. What it means insight is that they are not just can see your previous life or what you will be in the future. They know exactly why you were who you were in the past life, and then why you are going to be who you are in the future. The causes and conditions and all the things you have done, the karma things mixed together, they all know every detail. And then the sixth is you are not just deceased all the defilement in this current life, you also can seize the seeds that all the vexation won't give rise again. Okay, so our heart just cease to exist. They enter into the so-called the nirvana with remainder. But once they lost the power of samadhi, they need to get to the saha world again. All the karma, all the habit come back again. But for those who can get into the insight level, they know what exactly vexation comes from, how they arise, so they can stop it and they won't make it happen again. And for the Buddha, okay, they get to the so-called liberation level. That means the power, the insight is unlimited. It's unlimited, and so sometimes you can see from the book that our heart can tell you, oh, your past life, your past 10 lives, or your past 20 lives. But the problem is they cannot see all your lives. Okay, and the very famous story is that there is an old man. I think it's the last monastic that the Buddha took. It's the very old man that he wants to become a monastic, but their senior monk use their super knowledge, see his past life, and then they refuse and saying that sorry, because we didn't see any causes in your previous life that you have you can become a monastic. And then so that old man just cry, and then when Buddha came and asked why, and then he explained, and then Buddha used his Buddha eye and see it, and then finally he said, okay, you can become a monastic, because many times that beyond our heart's ability ago, one time you are chased by the tiger, and you climb onto a tree, and then you just call a name called Buddha, and because this reason that you can become a monastic. So this story just tells us that different levels of attainment has different levels of power. And I just briefly describe the surpassed insight in liberation. And and one thing that I need to emphasize is that Shifu asks us not to, go to those super knowledge people as about your past and as about your future. We only focus on the present life, how to cease our vexations, how to cut off our vexations, and things will change. And those people with higher knowledge, they have different levels of power. So some people can see your past 10 lives, some can see your past 100 lives, and some can see certain things and some not. So they cannot see the whole story. Only when the people get to the insight level that they can tell you, they can see the whole story. Okay, otherwise, all the story they tell you are partial right. Okay. So, okay, I haven't finished yet. So this storehouse has all the super knowledge and great illumination. So at this level, those super knowledge with the great illumination, that means at the highest level. And the super knowledge represent the expedient means that we can use to help sentient beings, and the great illuminations or lights represent the wisdom that can shine, that can light up all the darknesses in our mind. So the Tathagata Kappa is not empty, like empty kind of empty. The essence that basically has all the power and all the wisdoms. And that's what pretty much the first sentence trying to deliver the message. And the second sentence is also very important. The sentence continue, the sutra continue. This storehouse is where all Tathagatas luminously and majestically abide and uphold. All the Buddha can abide, means stay there calmly without moving. Uphold means keep it without changing. So basically, this Tathagata, Gabra, the storehouse, is not moving and not changing. Okay, and when the Buddha and the Tathagata at this stage, that is, it's luminous means very clear, and majestically means in very detail. Okay. So when the Buddha at this enter into the storehouse, everything unlimited, very clear, and very detailed. And this is not moving and not changed. For regular practitioners, it's already very rare for us to have a very what is that called? Wondrous, quiet and peaceful moment, but maybe for 2 hours or 3 hours, at most one day, and then we cannot abide and uphold. And the luminous, the clarity decrease, and there is no detail of what happened. And the mind is not subtle enough to see the detail. So here, that's what happened when the Tathagata enter into the storehouse. And secondly, it is also the ground of the pure enlightenment of all sentient beings. Here we go. This is what is the core concept of this sutra is. That means all the sentient beings has this, the essence of pure enlightenment. Even though we have not seen it yet, but we have it. And this is equal to what Buddha has. Okay, so for the sentient beings, we are not less. For Buddha, they are not more. Okay, and then at this time, when the Bhagavan entered into the storehouse, the body and mind were in the state of quiescent extinction, and all are intrinsically equal from this original essence. Okay, we hear a lot about this, that the so-called body are the quiescent and the extinctions mean that the body, this is not a regular, nama kind of, nama rupa kind of body and mind. This is no vexations and very clear and calm. And at that moment, everything's are equal. Everything you see are from the storehouse, from the Buddha nature. And second line, everything is accomplished and omnipresent in the 10 directions in accordance with non-duality. So everything is accomplished, is already accomplished, just like all the sentient beings already accomplished our Buddha nature. And this Buddha nature is everywhere. And even though we see everything is accordance with non-duality. What is non-duality? Good and bad are duality. Life and death and nirvana are duality. Heaven and hell are duality. You and me are duality. Subjectivity and objectivities are duality. So what does that mean? That things manifest in accordance with non-duality. And Sutra explained that is just like a mirror, mirror. The mirror is very flat, very shiny, no defilements on top of the mirror, and stand still right there. So whatever show up, whatever the causes and conditions, right? Things show up as is. But for us, even though everything is already accomplished in accordance with non-duality, but we don't see it that way because our mind is not in a state of non-duality. So we will prefer these people, we will prefer this situation, we will pick and choose based on our preference from our self-centeredness or the self-egoness. And this is not in accordance with non-duality. Okay. From within the state of non-duality, various pure lands manifest. Okay. Then the Bhagavan was accompanied by 100,000 great Bodhisattva Mahasavas. Now, in the state of non-duality, and then we mentioned that in the first sentence that the Buddha entered into the storehouse of the super knowledge and the great luminance, and abide in the samadhi of the right enjoyment. That is when the Buddha is in the body of enjoyment. And then so now the Pure Land manifest is called the Pure Land of true reward. Okay, so now I pretty much, talk about the assembly. What happened, the Buddha and the the assembly, and all the assembly are all enter into the samadhi the Buddha entered, so that they can receive that levels of teaching. So many sutra talk about that. When Buddha are going to deliver very subtle or high levels of teaching, usually most time they have to, and he will enter into the samadhi, and the audience also through the empowered by the Buddha, they are able to enter into the same samadhi as well, in order to comprehend, to understand Buddha's teaching. So at this point, we can know that, what kind of teaching that Buddha is going to deliver. Very subtle, very high levels of teaching. And among this 100,000 great Bodhisattva Mahasattva, there are 12 representatives that throughout this sutra, that one by one ask Buddha questions, and there's a dialogue, and the major teaching come out. And most of the Bodhisattva you might hear before, like Manjushri, some Vajrat, Universal Vision, Vajragava, Maitreya, all this, and the foremost in the virtue of goodness. All the teachings, many masters give commentary on this sutra, and they use different categories, try to explain Buddha's teaching. The easiest one is that Manjushri stand up first and ask the most difficult, most high levels of questions, and then Buddha answer. And the majority of the Bodhisattva Mahasattvas, they don't understand. And the second Bodhisattva stand up and ask the second levels of questions, and Buddha answer. And still a lot of Bodhisattva don't understand, and or they ask question for the sentient beings, for us, because we don't understand, and then so on and so forth until the Bodhisattva of complete enlightenment, he basically asked the question for ordinary sentient beings like us, how to practice diligently, how to practice in a retreat, what is the format, what kind of virtue that need to be done in order to practice efficiently. So from the highest level all the way to the lowest level. Okay, and the other type of category is that that the first Manjushri asks the highest level about the storehouse, And then the following answer the first couple bodhisattva ask for the high level of bodhisattva, how to practice, and the middle one ask for the middle levels, and the last couple of bodhisattva asks for the beginners practitioners. That one type, and there are certain type, and I will use mainly the following talk. I will mainly use the Tai Chi, Master Tai Chi's categories, and also mainly use Shifu's story, experience, comments, as well as Zhongmi's comments. So last things, this is, I would like to dedicate today's talk and the following talk to Shifu and also to Tina Han. This is the Shifu's words for us before he passed away. And he said that, my dear disciples, let's cherish our virtuous roots, merits, and causes and conditions that brought us together along the Bodhisattva path in this life. We have been building up this affinity under the guidance of numerous Buddhas in the past. We will definitely continue to practice bodhicitta together with numerous Buddhas in the future. This world always has hopes, also has my bless and wishes. And so let's continue to practice diligently, and so that we can follow Shifu and all the Buddhas in the future. And lastly, today's transfer the merit. This is the photo that Tina Han brought his 20-something disciples in 1997. Very interesting. The day that Tina Han passed away is actually Shifu's birthday, January 22nd. All right, in memory of these two great masters, let's join palm and transfer the merits by reciting Tina Han's Bodhisattva vows. Okay, we join palms and together. Oh, what happened? However, however innumerable beings are, I vow to meet them with kindness and interest. However inexhaustible the states of sufferings are, I vow to touch them with patience and love. However immeasurable the dharmas are, I vow to explore them deeply. Oops. And however incomparable the mystery of interbeing, I vow to surrender to it freely. All right, I finished my talk. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much for Fashi for this wonderful talk. And as we know, the time is limited, and so Fashi, shall we open up some opportunities for Pusas for asking questions?
Sure. Oh, any suggestion?
Pusas, if you have any question, and please raise your hand. There we're gonna unmute you, or you can just type in chat box. Thank you.
The first talk is just introduction for this, the causes and conditions that I choose this topic instead of the Sramala Sutra, and then the friendship between Shifu and Tina Han, and my affinity to Shifu and to this book, and also the overall how important this is for all the practitioners, especially in the Chan school. Hope that I've brought you some interest. in continuing listen to this talk. If no question, then lunchtime. I'll see you. Next week is Guoyuan Fashi. He's going to give a talk also in memory of Shifu. And I'll do the third week. And the fourth week is by Zako, also our Shifu's Dhamma Air, and that also in memory of Shifu by his talk. So please stay tuned in February, and then I will continue also in March and April to finish the whole sutra. All right, thank you for your time. Happy New Year. Stay peace and healthy. Wish everyone a good, wonderful Tiger year. Amitofo.